Within the past 45 minutes, a jury found Jennifer Mee guilty of...
That's Jennifer Mee. She's just been sentenced to life in prison for murder. Before her 2013 trial for first-degree murder, Jennifer Mee of St. Petersburg, Florida, also known as the Hiccup Girl, was no stranger to the spotlight.
Global Telelink. This call may be recorded or monitored. I have a free call from
Jennifer Mee,
an inmate at Pinellas County Jail. If you wish to accept this call, dial 0 and hold. To refuse, dial 5 and hang up. To block inmate calls, dial 7.
In 2007, she claimed to be hiccuping 50 times a day and made appearances on multiple television shows while touring the country in hopes of finding a treatment. Well, she certainly lived up to her name. She was given a life term in jail after she had two men, Lauren Rayford and Lamont Newman, set up a meeting with Shannon Griffin, who was 22 at the time. A meeting that left Griffin dead.
that we first met.
I couldn't even tell you. I got cased up with the wrong crowd of people, really. Unfortunately, when I started experimenting with drugs, I just felt like I was invincible to everything.
Me and Shannon had met online, being around 18 at the time. She would eventually bring Griffin around the back of an abandoned house where Rayford and Newton awaited her. It's unclear how the events led up to Griffin's murder, as Mee said. In a call to her mother, she said that she just wanted the ordeal to be a robbery.
Are you surprised that you're still known as the Hiccup Girl?
Some days I am, because it's just like I know that it's a name that will never die.
I didn't kill anybody. I set everything up and it all went wrong. It went fucking downhill after everything happened. Each of the three acknowledged their role in Griffin's death. Mee once again became known as the Hiccup Girl following multiple episodes of hiccups that seemed to affect her during the case hearings. While many questioned whether her response was fake, her defense team stated that the charge was offensive because Mee's hiccups were caused by her Tourette syndrome. Despite being diagnosed with schizophrenia, after an examination, she was found to be fit to stand trial. Regardless of the cause of her hiccups, Mee was ultimately convicted of first-degree murder and given a life sentence without the possibility of parole. Many people have condemned her sentence, and some have even claimed that if she were a male, the court would have been lenient. Supporters of Mee launched jmeefree.com, a website dedicated to freedom. It states on this website, "We are campaigning for a just and humane sentencing suited to the role Jennifer played in a crime where a young man's life was lost. We absolutely believe the mandatory sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole is an extreme sentence for the minor part Jennifer played in the crime. We are looking for a fairer sentence that reflects what a misguided lost girl at the time should have received." On the same site, Mee is said to have written the following: "I've been working on my GED and taking all kinds of classes to better myself. When I'm released, I want to be a counselor to youth. I want to share my testimony and give back to the community. I'm truly sorry for any family who's experienced the loved one's death due to foul acts of greed and inconsiderance. I feel it was a lesson learned on my behalf. Anyone who knows me knows I love people, and I would never want anyone to get hurt, no matter what the situation." Nicholas Lindsay expressed no remorse and even smiled during the hearings that resulted in his life sentence. Lindsay was just 16 years old when he killed David Crawford, a police officer in St. Petersburg, Florida, in 2011. Amanda, Crawford's daughter, found this grinning throughout the sentence particularly unnerving. "It just kind of proves to me that he's an animal as he sat there smiling," she said. Lindsay was convicted of first-degree murder at the age of 17. He was given a mandatory life sentence without the possibility of parole after being tried as an adult. He was not found eligible for the death penalty. However, after the United States Supreme Court ruled in Miller v. Alabama and its companion case Jackson v. Hobbs in 2012, he was granted a second chance and a resentencing hearing. According to the Miller decision, under the 8th Amendment's prohibition of harsh and unusual punishments, a mandatory life in prison without the possibility of parole for offenders under the age of 18 at the time of their offense is unconstitutional. Additionally, the decision says that before imposing a life sentence on a minor, judges should take into account the youth's mitigating circumstances, which include the defendant's age and the potential for rehabilitation. Amanda Crawford spoke once again during the 2013 resentencing hearing, during which she recounted her last conversation with her dad. She said, "My last text message with him was me saying, 'Be safe, I love you,' which he immediately replied, 'I will, sweetheart, I love you too.'" This was 1 hour before Lindsay went to shoot him. Additionally, the defense stated at that hearing that the jury in the first trial did not have the Alabama case law from the U.S. Supreme Court while determining his sentence. In their request to have Lindsay's sentence lowered to 40 years, they emphasized his upbringing in a harsh neighborhood, exposure to domestic violence, and numerous physical and mental health problems. The judge was not impressed. However, while he reinstated Lindsay's life sentence, he stated that he would be eligible for reconsideration after serving 25 years in prison in accordance with the country's new juvenile sentencing guidelines. The judge declared that there was insufficient proof of Lindsay's rehabilitation. Lindsay's life sentence was renewed a second time in 2017 during a resentencing hearing. At the time, he was 22 years old. His mom said little when it was over.
It's what the judge ordered, so that's what it is. It is what it is.
But Lindsay, much to the shock of everyone, actually smiled when the judge read his ruling. The lack of remorse, not lost. This is what Crawford's daughter had to say.
This was served, and I'm glad it's over, and it just kind of proves to me that he's an animal as he sat there smiling.
Just like Nicholas Lindsay, Seandell Jackson didn't express any regrets during his trial hearings. Jackson was 19 years old when he, with the help of an accomplice named Derek Thomas, tried to rob and shoot to death Nathan Potter, a 21-year-old student at UW-Milwaukee. After a night out, Potter was walking home to his flats in Milwaukee's River West neighborhood when he was attacked. As Jackson told the police, Potter had no cash on him, and this is why he shot him. Jackson was charged with being party to a crime of first-degree intentional homicide and attempted robbery. After deliberating for an hour during his 2010 trial, the jury found him guilty. When the jury's verdict was read, Jackson turned to face Potter's family, cursed at them, and smiled as he was escorted out of the courthouse. Video footage of his response was later played to Judge Rebecca Dollett before his sentencing to remind her of Jackson's actions that day. Referencing Jackson's behavior, Potter's father, John Potter, addressed the court and said, "Judge, there is nothing that can be said to bring back our Nathan, but your sentencing can ensure that Seandell does not, as a free man, inflict pain like this again. Is there such a thing as purely evil? We believe so."
There's nothing that can be said to bring back our Nathan. But your sentence can ensure that Seandell does not have the opportunity as a free man to inflict pain like this again. Is there such thing as pure evil? We think so.
The judge imposed a life sentence on him without the possibility of parole. Jackson was more enraged after hearing this. He began by turning to face Potter's family, which a deputy, James Hutchinson, forced down his head in an attempt to stop him. Jackson then made an effort to stand up from the defendant's table. Two deputies and Milwaukee's police detective pounced on him in an attempt to subdue him. In the end, the three deputies also became involved, cooperating to force Jackson to the ground and even having to pepper spray him. In the chaos that ensued, Hutchinson reportedly got some of the spray in his eyes, but no one was seriously hurt. Amid the mayhem, women who were probably members of his family could be heard screaming in the background. The Potter family, on the other hand, was seen sobbing and holding on to one another as Jackson was led out of the courthouse by the officers, one of them holding his hair to keep him from looking at them. Jackson's family began to insult the victim's family. "I hate you all. I hate you all," one woman screamed before being dragged out of the room by other members of her family.
Our little girl was afraid. She was afraid that he was going to try and kill one of us. She was afraid.
You know, I hope that as he spends the rest of his life in jail, that he comes to terms with it and does value human life, and that there is some redemption for him at some point. But that's totally up to him. And for his family to say to us, "We hate you," what's that all about? We didn't do a thing to him.
Whether it was real or not, Dylan Schumaker showed a lot more emotion than any other defendant on this list. A jury found 17-year-old Schumaker guilty in 2013 of killing a 2-year-old child in the second degree. Aged 16 at the time, Schumaker was babysitting the young Austin Smith and his 3-month-old brother, the children of his girlfriend Ashley, in New York. According to the prosecutor, Schumaker covered Austin's face with a pillow and struck it 3 times. According to his defense lawyer, Schumaker had no intention of killing the little child. He said he had no idea what he was doing would kill him. He claimed he was only attempting to keep the boy quiet so his younger brother could sleep.
I can't take back what was done. I wish I could. I would give my life for Austin.
He turned to his 19-year-old girlfriend and cried harder.
I really think I did that. I didn't mean to kill Austin. Ashley, I really didn't.
Schumaker addressed the court, apologizing to Ashley and showing remorse for Austin's death. He seemed to be truly regretful and sorry for his actions. But Justice M. William Bowler of the Supreme Court didn't see it that way.
You knew right from wrong. Had a bad childhood, had some troubles. At 16, you knew not to keep pounding your fist on that pillow with that little baby's head there.
He went on to reveal some unsettling evidence and denounce Schumaker as a deceptive and a liar.
Listening to your testimony at trial, I came away with the impression that you minimize your actions, that you are a manipulator, and you try to deceive. The record will show that you admitted that on July 23, 2013, in a phone call to your mother from the holding center, you stated, and I got a quote from the court reporter, "I am a 16-year-old blonde. Probably all I have to do is cry in front of the jury, and they're going to feel sorry for me."
Schumaker was eventually sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. He continued crying as he received his sentence.